Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
This is a look outside our sky cam of the city of Regina. Looks normal, but to be honest, with all the freezing rain southern Saskatchewan has received in the last 6 to 8 hours, it is extremely icy out there. It's resulted in travel not recommended for a lot of highways, including the Trans-Canada, leaving Regina on both sides. Yes, good evening, everyone. It's early in, but a winter storm is rolling through Saskatchewan today, and more is definitely on the way. Jacob Carr has more on the conditions and how it has already impacted some residents.
Salting residential sidewalks and walkways a common sight in Regina as freezing rain pelts the city. Another Alberta clipper is making its way through Saskatchewan as the province gears up for a mix of rain, snow, and wind.
Just south of Highway 16, that band maybe upwards of 20 centimeters of fresh snow. With that, to the south, we're seeing some freezing rain, which is pretty tricky through the southeast, and in the southwest, some really gusty wind. As a result of the slippery road conditions in Regina, the city canceled garbage, recycling, and food and yard waste pickup on Wednesday. The city of Moose Jaw following suit, even closing down recreational facilities like the Yara Centre and Kinsman Sportsplex early Wednesday afternoon.
It's going to get icy out. There's no doubt with the flash freezing. We do have our ice control people out. They'll be running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The Saskatchewan Ministry of Highways is urging people to check out the highway hotline when considering travel. The resource will show up-to-date highway closures as well as routes where travel is not recommended. City workers, highway ministry officials, and meteorologists all agree that the best option is to avoid roads altogether if possible.
It's one of those days that if you can hunker down and just stay put, this is the day to do it. If you can postpone travel, if you can postpone appointments, shopping, anything like that, if you can postpone it until tomorrow, it's probably the best decision that you can make.
Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
All right, so here's a look at the highway hotline. Blue means travel not recommended. And as you can see, we're seeing a lot of blue. The Yorkton area, all through Saskatoon to the western part of the province. And Regina, on both sides of the Trans-Canada Highway to exit, you're seeing travel not recommended. So make sure if for some reason you are hitting the highways tonight, although not recommended, make sure you check this out. All right, so travel on the roads, treacherous in most areas, at least tonight, but through the air, it's been an issue as well. One of Saskatchewan's largest snowstorms this year, especially in Saskatoon, causing a number of delays and cancellations for travelers. The airport in Saskatoon actively clearing snow and ice to try to keep operations moving. WestJet, Air Canada, Ryanair have all made preemptive cancellations in anticipation, though, of tonight's storm.
We've had quite a few preemptive cancellations, I would say. That's airlines that start to make those cancellation decisions actually ahead of the weather events, who help kind of protect their network so that they can start rebooking people in a timely fashion. So we've had about 6 or 7 inbound cancellations and about 7 outbound cancellations today.
As for Regina's airport, same thing. All of tonight's arrivals or departures have been delayed or outright canceled. So what are we looking at when it comes to the satellite to see the conditions? Sabine joins us now in the Weather Center to give us a overall story of what we're seeing right now, earlier, and of course later on tonight.
Well, I can tell you some good news, Lee. And the good news is the freezing rain warnings have lifted for parts of the province, and that includes the Regina area. However, we're still seeing a lot of areas covered in the orange, which is representing the blizzard warning. So again, I've been hearing from people saying, well, is it even coming through this way? I don't think it's really coming. The fact of the matter is we just got more of the freezing rain versus the snow. We're still seeing the winds starting to pick up. The wind warnings are still issued for southwest Saskatchewan, where they're seeing wind gusts up to about 100 kilometers an hour. And tonight, we'll see the wind gusts continue to pick up even more than what we're seeing them at right now. Saskatoon areas just north of the Regina and surrounding areas did see more of the snow, did see high wind gusts also up to about 75 kilometers an hour. But right there on the radar satellite, we saw more of that green and the pink, the freezing rain and rain throughout much of the day today. Now, what's to come? Well, the temperatures are going to drop as we see that Arctic mass move in, and the snow is expected to continue as we head into tomorrow morning. This is what we're currently looking at for wind chill values. The average daytime high is usually hovering around about -8. We actually warmed up above 0 today, but that is about to change as we head into tomorrow. So again, we're hearing if you don't have to be on the roads, yeah, maybe just don't be on the roads, because even within the city and outside the city limits, it's still going to be reduced visibility and icy conditions will remain heading into tomorrow. But I'll have details in your full forecast. Lee?
All right, Sabine, despite the weather, City Council back at it at Henry Baker Hall for day 3 of budget deliberations. At the start, councillors were looking at a property tax hike at almost 16%, but this morning, Mayor Chad Baczynski proposed a plan that had a lower rate. Donovan Mace has more.
An amendment from Mayor Chad Baczynski proposes to lower Regina's mill rate increase to 10.73%.
We've heard from delegates that made it very clear that we don't want to see a drastic increase in our taxes, and at the same time, we don't want to reduce services and cut the things that make our city livable and vibrant.
42 various cuts and deferrals are included in Baczynski's motion and could decrease city expenses by $12 million, including the removal of physical downtown parking meters and moving to a full cashless payment system, increasing transit fares by 10%, deferring transit fleet reserve investments to next year, canceling the addition of transit service for some late-night weekend and holiday routes, and reducing funding for economic development Regina, among others.
As we start to make deeper cuts, if that's what council is looking at, just gauge the impact versus the gauge of the impact of that dollar versus the gauge of the impact of that service.
At the previous 15.69% forecast, the average Regina household would have seen property taxes increase about $33 per month. At 10.73%, the increase would be about $23. CFO Darren Anderson says the city can provide adequate service levels at the newly suggested tax hike.
Council has set a strategic priority to remain in the lowest 25% of per capita taxes amongst our comparator cities. That requires us to stay below the city of Saskatoon. We can do this for 2026 with a tax increase of 10%.
Now, Baczynski calling his motion just a starting point, as it has yet to have been voted on. Budget debate is only just beginning, and the mill rate could fluctuate up or down at council's discretion to enhance services or cut even further. Deliberations are scheduled to last through Friday. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
The NDP is raising concerns over wait times and bed shortages at hospitals in Saskatoon, Regina, and Prince Albert. The NDP obtained an internal report from the Saskatchewan Health Authority detailing safety levels at hospitals across the province in recent days. The report considers Prince Albert's Victoria Hospital, Royal University, St. Paul's Hospital, and Regina General Hospital at a very high safety risk for overcapacity. The report notes Saskatoon City Hospital was short 10 medical beds. Victoria Hospital was short 12. The NDP also raised concerns about high wait times ranging from 41 hours at Victoria Hospital to some 91 hours at Regina General Hospital.
There are many things that go into a picture such as this. I mean, this is very bleak, but it's not an overnight fix, that's for sure.
The SHA says internal documents used by health system experts should be interpreted with caution when viewed outside their intended context. It also says that wait times refer to the total time from patient registration to discharge from the emergency department, not the time it takes to see a doctor. The provincial government has offered an explanation about why a number of aging ambulances have been parked behind Regina SHA facilities for months. The government says they are not part of the mainline fleet, but are available for use if needed. 4 are parked beside an EMS station on Hill Avenue. 6 are being stored behind Pioneer Village, and 1 is at EMS headquarters downtown. The government says they are still licensed and ready for use. The NDP questioned whether EMS would have the personnel, though, to staff them. The Prince Albert Grand Council says it's asking for answers after videos circulated online depicting an Indigenous man in an impaired state lying outside the Victoria Hospital in winter weather. A statement from police regarding the incident said the man had been evicted from the property prior to police arrival. Grand Chief Brian Hardlot wants the Saskatchewan Health Authority to assess the actions of security staff during the incident and says the Grand Council has reached out to the SHA.
That shouldn't happen in this day and age. especially in the hospital setting. So concerning. So things, we're going to ask for changes and I'm hoping that the Saskatchewan Health Authority works with us on this one.
The SHA says it has met with the Grand Council, continues to collaborate with police, and is completing an internal review. Home-based integrated youth services within the John Howard Society of Saskatchewan is receiving a large philanthropic donation. Over the next 3 years, Home-Base will receive more than $1 million in funding thanks to the Bell Graham Bach Foundation, the Morris Foundation, and McConnell Foundation. Now, Home-Base provides young people ages 12 to 25 and their caregivers with services like mental health and addictions, peer supports, physical health services, cultural and traditional supports. The government of Saskatchewan also provides Home-Base with $4.5 million in funding each year.
We want to make sure that we're servicing young people in all services that they want to be able to access. Like right now, we have some of our core principles, but ideally we want to be able to make sure that we're addressing all services and all activities that young people need to and want to be able to access within that age category that we have.
There are 4 home-base hubs: Regina, Moose Jaw, Humboldt, and Sturgeon Lake First Nation. Yorkton RCMP are reaching out to the public, asking anyone with information on a fatal collision involving a pedestrian last month. It happened around 5:40 p.m. on November 15th on Mayhew Avenue in the city's northeast. The pedestrian, 86-year-old man, was taken to hospital where he later died. The driver did remain on scene, but still anyone with information is asked to call RCMP or Crime Stoppers. There was heightened security at the Saskatchewan Legislative Building as the Jewish community held a Hanukkah celebration. The added police presence comes after that recent celebration in Austria ended with a mass shooting. Wayne Mantika has the details.
2 large road graders blocked off an area in front of the Legislative Building as police stood watch over a Hanukkah celebration. The crowd was not deterred from taking part in the annual Festival of Light.
We do not negotiate with darkness and evil. We ignite light, spread love and kindness.
Premier Scott Moe joined a rabbi in lighting a giant menorah outside the Legislative Building. Later, he made mention of the recent mass shooting at a Hanukkah celebration in Australia.
And we should understand that those types of attacks can happen to us as families wherever we live in the world. And it's on us to step forward, and it's on us to be the light in the lives of our neighbors and our friends.
Regina's police chief assured the Jewish community that added protection is in place.
To ensure that we could have additional presence at the places of worship in our city and hopefully provide some comfort to our community.
A local rabbi spoke of the community's sorrow.
We're going to ignite those lights, make sure they carry forward stronger, brighter, and prouder than ever before.
Jewish leaders vowed not to bend in the face of anti-Semitism.
We look to government, elected officials to face the level of anti-Semitism and discrimination and hate, not only against the Jewish community, but against all minority groups.
Hanukkah marks the triumph of light over darkness, a commemoration with added significance this year as Saskatchewan's Jewish community mourns the loss of life in Australia. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
A cowgirl, a pilot, an astronaut, Barbie has worn many outfits and has many jobs during her 65 years of production. Now a local person has added their own touch, fitting the fashion icon with a traditional ribbon skirt. Mick Favel tells us more.
Tyla Gerald just got a version of Barbie not found in any stores. It's fitted with a ribbon skirt, a traditional Indigenous garment similar to the one Gerald is wearing. The new addition is unlike anything in her collection.
Happy.
Yeah.
Excited.
It was nice to have it, right? Crystal Pelche remembers her days as a child and her times with Barbie. She recalls not having any dolls which directly reflected who she was as an Indigenous person. She is happy her daughter gets to have a different experience, with Indigenous culture now being better represented.
It's nice. It's like, I wish it was done a long time ago. But, it's nice that they can see this stuff, learn this stuff, know this stuff. be able to wear the items to school, to daycare, to wherever.
Earlier this month, the North Central Family Center received 10 of the indigenized Barbie dolls. Although the person prefers to remain anonymous, they did share the reasoning behind the creations. The maker creates the dolls in honor of their niece, who died at the age of 5, as well as for Isabella Kulak, who was shamed for wearing a ribbon skirt in 2020. The unique dolls are in high demand at the center.
It's something that you normally don't see, and to have a little, something that you can as well look like in a nice ribbon dress. Unfortunately, we don't have so many of them, but I hope there's more to come in the future.
Right now, doll accessories like these cannot be found in stores, but there is a growing demand which some of the major brand names may want to take a note of.
More of this stuff for the, Barbies, dolls, I think is important. It'd be nice more of that kind of stuff for the dolls.
Proving that Barbie can really be anything. Mick Favel, CTV News, Regina.
After the break, flu cases in Canada are hitting harder this year. And Skate Canada vows not to hold events in Alberta because of the province's transgender policies.
Tomorrow,
I was broken into pieces.
Canadians grappling with the very real loss of life savings from fake AI-generated videos.
You could invest in it for as little as $250.
What's making these scammers so convincing that victims are losing everything they own?
I don't have no retirement saving. Everything is gone.
W5 investigates tomorrow on CTV National News and ctvnews.ca.
Flu cases are rising across the country, and experts say the peak is still a ways off. Manny Bergeron-Oliver has more on what doctors are expecting.
The flu hits every year, but the strain of influenza A circulating now is hitting harder and faster than ever.
Well, it causes a severe pneumonia that can cause the lungs to break down. There can be a secondary bacterial infection. There can be widespread infection known as sepsis.
Doctors say severe complications are rare, but nationally, flu-related hospitalizations are increasing, especially in kids 4 or younger and among those over 65. In Ontario alone, new ICU admissions are up 127%, with confirmed flu cases up by 150%. In Nova Scotia, like elsewhere, doctors are preparing for a surge in cases, especially among kids around the holidays.
We tend to underappreciate the need for vaccination, and I certainly know in Nova Scotia, our uptake of vaccine in infants and young children is far from where ideally we'd like to have it.
Whatever protection you can get, it does make a difference.
Jill Promoli knows firsthand how devastating the flu can be. Her son Jude was a healthy 2-year-old when he got influenza B and died.
Even when we lost Jude, it was a shock to us that we had lost him to something like the flu.
She's now spent nearly 10 years encouraging people to take the flu seriously and encouraging them to get vaccinated.
It can be faster than we realize, and it can be more serious than we realize, and sometimes there just is no time to act. So the more steps that you can take to prevent getting the flu into your home in the first place, the better.
Doctors say the influenza outbreaks are starting earlier than usual, and they're encouraging everyone to get vaccinated. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith is calling Skate Canada disgraceful after the organization declared they will not hold events in Alberta because of the law prohibiting transgender athletes from participating in female-only sports. As Rachel Aiello tells us, this standoff is now raising questions beyond the sport of figure skating.
They get 2 here and 10 to win.
Curling Canada says it has no plans to move its upcoming events out of Alberta in light of the province's restrictions on transgender athletes. The World Women's Curling Championship is being held in Calgary in March. And in a statement to CTV News, the national governing body for the sport says the consequences of pulling out would have a significant financial impact on Curling Alberta, and that the organization continues to support the rights of all athletes to participate in the sport in the manner in which they choose.
Loose in front.
Hockey Canada also tells us it has no plans to adjust its event schedule at this time.
Canada.
After Skate Canada announced its boycott, citing Alberta's ban on trans athletes participating in female amateur sports, Premier Danielle Smith demanded an apology, while LGBTQ2S+ advocates celebrated the decision.
If reason and the will of the voters is not being, utilized by our government, then it's going to have to be our dollars and our events that are communicating to them what is right.
Canada's Secretary of State for Sport says while these organizations make decisions independently based on evidence and athletes' rights, the federal government believes in a sports system that provides opportunities for all Canadians to participate and excel without discrimination. We reached out to several other winter sporting organizations to see if they plan to change their policies, but have yet to hear back. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
New data finds more Canadians are being caught up in the immigration crackdown in the United States.
From what I've seen, we're looking at very minor criminal infractions, but sufficient to attract the radar of U.S. enforcement.
According to numbers released by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, more than 200 Canadians have spent time in custody at some point since January. That's compared to 137 during the same time in 2024. 6 children were among those detained. In the past, experts claim Canadians would have simply be sent back home rather than being detained. Nick Reiner appeared in court today for the first time since being charged in the deaths of his parents. Reiner did not enter a plea as he appeared from behind glass in a custody area. He did not enter a plea during the arraignment that was postponed until January 7th at the request of his lawyer. Reiner is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, accused of killing Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner on Sunday. And funerals were held today for some of the victims of Sunday's massacre in Australia. 15 people were killed when 2 gunmen opened fire at a Hanukkah celebration. Authorities believe it was a terrorist attack that was inspired by the Islamic State. There was a memorial in Sydney today for the victims. Mourners lit a menorah and sang. And one of the alleged shooters was charged with 59 offenses today, including 15 charges of murder. His father died at the scene as both were shot by police. In entertainment news, an entertainment industry that's been going under some major changes of late, and a big one has the Oscars moving to YouTube. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences says it signed a multi-year deal with YouTube starting in 2029. The platform will have exclusive global rights for Hollywood's biggest night. It'll mark the end of decades of the ceremony being broadcast by ABC. The move signifies a shift in the media industry as online services like YouTube and Netflix gain power from traditional TV broadcast stations. Coming up, it's day 11 of the 12 Strays of Christmas, and tonight we introduce you to one of the puppies that was found abandoned last week, Jolene.
We're helping you stay safe this holiday season. Thursday on your morning, the Saskatoon Fire Department reminding you of the fire dangers at Christmas.
All right, we're going to get right into things when it comes to what we can expect with this weather. I know many of you are just wondering where the snow is. Well, it looks like we got the bulk of the freezing rain. We're seeing those temperatures not necessarily as cold as we expected for them to make their way through with that Arctic air mass. Saskatoon certainly is seeing some cooler temperatures. Right now we're sitting at -10. Now we are also starting to see the winds pick up. -10, wind chill value of just over -20, -22. The wind's currently sitting at 50, but they are gusting over 60 right now. So the winds are starting to pick up, and we will see some snow. I don't want to say we're not seeing any snow at all. It's just that we did see, it was the bottom of that system that we were seeing southern parts of the province would see more rain, freezing rain, and the snow would be further north of that system. Now we're continuing to see, and in Regina especially, we continue to see a mix of rain and freezing rain throughout the day. The snow is still expected to make its way through as we head into the evening. The blizzard warnings remain in effect, and we're still seeing those high wind, the wind warnings issued for southwest Saskatchewan, where they're seeing wind gusts up to about 100 kilometers an hour. Now, last I checked, the updated blizzard warning still suggesting we will see high wind gusts, actually even up to about 90 kilometer an hour winds as we head into the overnight. In Regina in particular, it's looking like we could see the winds picking up to about 80 kilometers an hour, and that will continue to stick around as the system is making its way through. So this is what we can expect as we head into this evening. So still expecting to see the snow arriving in parts of southern Saskatchewan, and really high wind gusts expected from the north. So we'll see that northerly wind pushing the system as it makes its way down into the southeast. First thing in the morning, we should start to see a lot of that clipper clear out of the province. By 9 a.m., you should be waking up to snow and still expecting icy conditions, because we're seeing those temperatures drop quite a bit. As we head into tomorrow, we have an Arctic air mass that is going to be making its way into Saskatchewan. Daytime average usually is sitting at about -8, -9. Tomorrow we will see those temperatures dropping to colder than -20, and the wind chill values in the -30s. Now for most of Thursday, clear conditions, cold conditions, frigid conditions, frostbite. There's a risk of frostbite with these frigid temperatures, and as we head into Thursday night, the winds pick back up, and there's another system returning with snow expected for many parts of southern Saskatchewan. Now this actually is connected to that atmospheric river that we have been hearing about that is more down in the States. It's resulting in flood warnings for parts of the west coast. We will still see some precipitation in the form of rain and freezing rain, but mostly, again, we'll see most of that snow making its way through as we continue throughout Friday into late afternoon and into the evening. Conditions clear, and we're left with another Arctic air mass coming into Saturday with temperatures dropping down to -20 and colder again. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, I did want to also point out that with that system, as we talked about yesterday as well, the darker the shaded areas, the heavier the snowfall. It was expected that we were going to see between the Yellowhead and the Trans-Canada, that's where we're going to see the bulk of that snowfall. So the lighter the shading in this map is where we'll see the heavier snowfall expected. So now we're starting to see not as the lighter conditions around the Regina area, up to about 12 centimeters by tomorrow morning. Now projecting to see the parkland seeing heavier snowfall. Now after tomorrow morning, we'll still see a little bit of that snowfall returning as we head into Friday. By Friday morning, we could see over 15 centimeters for many parts of southern Saskatchewan. Swift Current up to 20, the parkland up to 20, and that'll even grow even more as we head into Saturday morning for the parkland, up to 30 centimeters of snow expected. Prince Albert close to 15, Hudson Bay, North Battleford. So many areas right now, according to Environment and Climate Change Canada, we could still see a good amount of snow between now into Friday. Temperatures, though, is what we're talking about. They'll continue to be below seasonal, as we've been hearing, just with that Arctic mass making its way through. Tomorrow, many areas seeing below -20. -20 for North Battleford, -22 for Saskatoon, -23 for Yorkton. Warmer still in the southwest, -2 for Maple Creek, and back into seasonal range for Swift Current. Cooler in Moose Jaw, -18 in the southeast, seeing similar temperatures. For Regina, we are dropping to -22, winds up to 60, could be gusting up to 80. -20 tomorrow, wind chill values getting into the high -20s, and then also possibly reaching into the -30s. Still a risk of frostbite tomorrow. Snow returning and high winds returning Friday with -8 as the daytime high. Cold air mass returns Saturday, -21, sunshine there, -17 and sunny on Sunday. By Monday, -13, mostly cloudy, and then we're back into that seasonal range. Tuesday, mainly sunny, -12, and Wednesday, -8 and mainly sunny. It's day 11 of our 12 strays of Christmas. We're nearing the end, but I'm really excited about today because we're checking in with, of course, our friends at the Regina Humane Society, Candace. And Candace has a very special, adorable adoptable we're going to talk about today. Hi, Candace.
Hi. This adorable sweetheart is Jolene, and oh my gosh, is she the sweetest little thing. She is from that group of puppies that were found outside of the shelter early in the morning in a box that had been abandoned. So she and her siblings are all ready for adoption now, which is really exciting. And they come free with the fresh puppy smell. I can't get enough of it. I don't know why it's so good, but it is.
So, I mean, you know, unfortunate situation of being found in a box with her siblings there, Candace. What type of home would be perhaps the perfect home for a fresh puppy like Jolene?
Yeah, so puppies, they are so tempting and they're so good at being cute, but they're really one of those things that you have to be prepared for, right? It's a lifestyle change. It's kind of the first, like having a child. They need lots of care and attention, a lot of time, and a lot of guidance to become good, well-socialized, well-behaved dogs. So, I mean, I think that with her being so friendly and so little, she could really adjust to any family as long as that family is dedicated to her care and helping shape her into the best dog that she can be, right?
I mean, she just looks like such a sweetheart and a very friendly addition to any home. If anyone is interested in taking Jolene home or coming down and checking out her siblings, if Jolene happens to get adopted right away, what do they need to know, Candace?
Yeah, so we are open from adoption or for adoption viewing from noon until 6 every day, except for Mondays. So feel free to come down and meet with her or her siblings. Even if you want to just pop over and say hi and get your daily dose of cuteness, it's a perfect time to do so. I mean, even with the weather, these cuties will warm your heart, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, well, hopefully we find a forever home for Jolene, her siblings, and many of the other adorable adoptables we have featured over the last little while. Real quick, Candace, I do want to ask about anything else the Regina Humane Society is looking for in terms of donations or fundraising.
Yeah, so we're always happy to get donations, especially around Christmas time. Some of the most needed items right now are soft cat food. That's a really big one. And then, of course, cat litter is another one that we use a lot. And then things like dog treats are really helpful, especially the like smaller little soft ones. They work really well because then we can give more without worrying about upsetting their tummies. Because it's really hard not to spoil them.
Yeah, I totally understand, Candace. And I know, real quick, one last thing, you're asking about food for cats and dogs. I understand you do have quite a few that are available for adoption right now, and you do have an event going on right now.
We do, yeah. In response to the sheer volume of animals that we're having, most particularly cats and kittens are really tough right now. We're hosting an adoption event. So any of the adult animals, cats, dogs, over the age of 4 months, only have a $25 adoption fee. And then puppies and kittens, so meaning animals under the age of 4 months, they only have a $75 adoption fee. So it's a really great time to adopt and add a lovely animal to your home. Of course, if you're prepared, we do encourage not to purchase animals as gifts. However, there's nothing wrong with, giving a puppy as a gift as long as the person receiving them is prepared and committed to that, of course. Right.
Very important information to know. Thank you so much, Candace. We're looking forward to checking in one more time for our 12 Strays of Christmas, and hopefully we find forever homes for all of them. Thanks, Candace.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
12 Strays of Christmas, brought to you by Flooring Superstore. Quality flooring at great prices.
Still ahead, the Saskatchewan Roughriders re-signed one of their players that was pivotal in the team's season opener.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
Saskatchewan Roughriders have extended the contract of Canadian running back Thomas Bertrand-Hudon for another season.
Knocking on the door again for the Riders. Handing off. Bertrand-Hudon has one touchdown. He has two.
Yeah, in a backup role, Bertrand-Hudon had 166 yards rushing, 38 yards through the air. He scored 2 touchdowns, both in the season opener against Ottawa after A.J. Ouellette left the game early with a concussion. The Quebec product has been a Rider since the team selected him in the 4th round of the 2023 draft. Riders also signed former Bomber D lineman Devin Adams and O lineman Dayton Black, a 2023 CFL draft first rounder. WHL, tonight's game at the Brand Center between the Regina Pats and Prince Albert Raiders is still a go. The Raiders are in the city after leaving this morning to beat the weather. Crowd, of course, might be a little light depending on the roads. Puck drop is 7 o'clock.
Aiden, pressured by Brown. Here's a turnover. Dagenstein for Pavlik to Brown. Scores!
Meanwhile, last night in Moose Jaw, Casey Brown, a pair of goals as the Moose Jaw Warriors snapped a 6-game losing streak, beating the Kelowna Rockets 6-2. Chase Wutzke made 40 saves in the win. Warriors' next game Saturday night at home against the Brandon Wheat Kings. Meanwhile, weather did impact the SJHL. All 3 games tonight were postponed this morning, including Melville in Melfort. The Nipwood-LaRange game was actually postponed yesterday, and it's due to an influenza outbreak. No word yet on when those games will be rescheduled. As for last night, Yorkton finally got the best of the Weyburn Red Wings.
Top to Buds. Mikhail Buds takes a shot. Now here's Junik up front. Henderson scores!
It was actually all that scored the goal. He got a pair of goals, including the winner. Yorkton Terriers beat Weyburn 7-3. It's their first win against the Wings in 5 tries this season. Terriers jump into 7th place in the league standings, 2 points back of the Battlefords in their next game Friday night at home against the surging Estevan Bruins. And there is outrage over the cost of tickets for the upcoming World Cup, prompting FIFA to release discounted tickets to participating countries and their fans. Canada Soccer says tickets will cost $80 each and will go to the Canadian supporters group known as the Voyageurs. Some tickets were originally priced at more than $4,000. The discounts are under what's called a supporter entry tier price category.
Still ahead, we meet a few of the volunteers helping out at the Regina Food Bank.
All right, let's take a look at what we can expect for your rural forecast for tomorrow. As I mentioned earlier, right behind this clipper that's coming through tonight is the Arctic air mass. So we're going to see these temperatures drop drastically from what our average daytime highs usually are, around -8, -9, into the -20s, with those wind chills getting into the -30s. And that is what we're seeing. We'll see a little bit more of that sunshine as well. So a mix of sun and cloud for Hudson Bay and for Melfort at -22 tomorrow. Sunny and -22 for Watrous. Lloydminster, mostly cloudy, -19. A mix of sun and cloud for Meadow Lake, -18, and -14 for Kindersley with a mix of sun and cloud. The closer we get to the southern border, some areas a little warmer than seasonal. Maple Creek, -2, mainly sunny, and right within that seasonal range for Leader and East and Cypress, -8 there. And over in the southeast, still cooler than average, -23 for Kenora. Broadview, -22, -19 for Carlisle. Lumsden and Pilot Butte, -20, mainly sunny. If we take a closer look at Hafford, located about 70 kilometers east of North Battleford, and where internet speeds up to 1 gig available through SaskTel, -22 is the expected daytime high tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud. The wind chill value, -33. As we head into the evening for Hafford tomorrow, expect some snow to return, about 2 to 4 centimeters, with the temperature dipping to about -25.
Regina's Food Bank is busy this holiday season as volunteers prepare meals to feed more than 10,000 families in the city. Sierra D'Souza Bunch tells us more about the people who are giving their time to help others.
Betty Donald used to work as a nurse until she lost her sight.
I ended up having 3 brain tumors removed and couldn't nurse anymore.
That's when she turned to the Regina Food Bank as a volunteer.
Still wanted to do something, so I came to the food bank because they had helped me when I first lost my sight.
A decade later, Donald still finds herself coming back, supporting people in need of care.
When I couldn't nurse anymore, this is the second best thing I've ever done in my life. You're still helping people.
Donald is one of the many volunteers committed to helping prepare close to 500 food hampers every day for families in Regina. With the holiday season being a more expensive time for most, the community-based organization provides an additional 2,500 hampers, feeding over 3,000 people in the city.
Everything makes a difference for them. It's very hard to come to the food bank for the first time, and I think that's something that we really acknowledge, and the fact that someone's coming to us, it means that they're actually at a point that they need the help.
Serta adds there are many ways people can get involved with the food bank.
through donations, volunteering, or doing a food drive. Also learn about food insecurity and speaking to others about it, being our own advocates.
As part of the annual Hampers of Hope campaign, all donations made until December 24th will be matched by Nutrien.
That's what life is giving to other people, not to yourself. So for me, it's my way of giving back.
Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
Cody First Nation celebrated what they called a historic day for their nation. On Tuesday afternoon, band members held a blessing ceremony at the Camp Sask Courthouse that's located at the town's Legion Hall. The event marked another step towards reconciliation. Starting next year, a local elder will be available for prayer, smudge, and guidance for both victims and offenders during court sessions every Tuesday. Cody First Nation says it will build trustful relationships, provide alternative support, and decrease the number of offenses while using traditional teachings.
Have one of our community leaders, our cultural people, sitting here in the courthouse with a friendly face, cultural knowledge of our traditional ways, support not only for the offenders but the victims as well.
The new initiative is funded by Cody First Nation. Farm markets, canola street price down $1.60 to $532.92 per ton, while the futures price is down $2.80 to $608.50 per ton. Amber durum wheat remains the same, $282.27 per ton. Red spring wheat down slightly by 2 cents to $241.53 per ton. Feed barley stays the same, $213.59 per ton. Flax also stays the same, $626.04 per ton. Those prices courtesy of Bunge. And the markets, TSX down 13 points. The Dow Jones also down by 228 points today. As for the Canadian dollar, down in between 1/10 and 2/10 of a cent to 72.56 cents US. How about the commodities? Well, gold was up $36.01. West Texas Intermediate crude up $1.60, while Western Canadian Select crude went down again by $1.98. And gas in Regina right now dropped a little bit more. It's at $1.23.9 per liter.
YouTube takes the reins in 2029 and will live stream the red carpet arrivals, the awards show, and moments from behind the scenes. The Oscars is the highest profile and most watched award show. ABC has had the rights since 1976, but that deal ends in 2028. Starting 2029 and until 2033, American YouTube subscribers will get exclusive access, and so will 2 billion other YouTube users around the world. Warner Brothers wants shareholders to reject what it says is an inferior takeover bid by Paramount Skydance and accept an offer from Netflix. The Warner Brothers board sees the Netflix offer as in the company's best interest. No date has yet been set for a shareholder vote. Tesla stock pulled back today after reaching a high of almost $490 US yesterday. Investors are excited about the future of robo-taxis after CEO Elon Musk announced the test run in Texas is going well. Tesla stock is up over 20% this year. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Coming up tonight on CTV, snow.
And
the floor twice.
Two of everything.
And George and Mandy's first marriage twice with a password in between. No Big Bang Theory.
No.
You lose, Sabine.
I know.
A massive inflatable Santa has become a local attraction in Timmins, Ontario.
I was just Googling stuff one day and I come across small Santas, so I Googled world's largest Santa and he came up.
Mark Letourneau's lawn ornament stands 12 meters tall and costs him about $2,500. Mark said he did this to bring joy to his community over the holiday.
Looks like it's going to hit that line. All right, let's take a look at the highway hotline one last time. This is how things are looking right now. Just a suggestion to always keep a look, and there you go. Blue means travel not recommended, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So
all around Regina, all the way towards Moose Jaw, and even the covered, like it's covered in snow and ice. And I was just creeping some of the highway Facebook pages before coming into the studio. Many of them reporting that it's not good out there, especially with the wind blowing snow. May not be snowing, but there is still snow on the ground. So
creeping sights, huh? All right. Christmas dad jokes. What athlete is warmest in winter? What athlete is warmest in winter?
I don't know.
A long jumper.
What?